We're back to the Tolducation Celebrity Show on the Tolducation Network. Again, ToldTutor.net for more information. Twitter, ToldTutor, Neil S. Haley. Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley on the Simply G Media Network. And I'm so excited to welcome to the program three-time Pro Bowler, former Pittsburgh Steeler, but we're going to be talking a lot about the Seahawks because of the Super Bowl, field goal kicker Norm Johnson. Norm, thanks for calling.
Oh, my pleasure.
And again, your days with the Steelers, I remember, and you were a very accurate field goal kicker for the Steelers. And thank you for the years that you brought joy to Steeler fans when you were a kicker there, for sure.
You know, I have a lot of fond memories of my time in Pittsburgh. Had some great seasons, played with some great players, and had some real characters there, but really enjoyed the city. It's one of my favorite places to visit.
Well, everybody that says that, they definitely enjoy it and different things. But during that time, I understand you've relocated back to near the Seattle area, and so it's pretty exciting out there, isn't it, with Super Bowl time coming pretty soon for the big game this weekend, right?
It's a pretty crazed town right now. They're very, very excited. You know, this is their second trip to the Super Bowl. They've never taken home a trophy here to Seattle, and boy, this town would go crazy if we did that.
Yeah, I know, Norm, and I think that the Seattle will be very happy, especially one of my friends. But me being a Denver Bronco fan is my second favorite team, so that would be a very hard thing to see, especially with the year that Peyton Manning's been having. But I'm sure the buzz and the town and people don't remember that the Broncos and Seahawks were huge rivals when they were both in the AFC, right, Norm?
Oh, they were absolutely back in the day, back through the '80s.
The big games at the Kingdom for sure, right?
The Thunderdome. Oh yeah, yeah. We had all our Bronco Busters stuff out here. It was a huge rivalry. Elway gave us fits.
Well, absolutely, but you guys did give us fits as well, and there was some pretty interesting games. So, Jarrett, what we're talking to Norm about today is basically the excitement of the Super Bowl and Seattle being back in it, and Norm's in that area now of Seattle, and he's also an entrepreneur, just to give you an update, Jarrett, of what's going on. But I know you were a fan of Norm's, especially in Pittsburgh, right, Jarrett?
Oh, absolutely. You know, he came in and did the job and was a great part of the community, and that's what I remember about Norm. You know, as far as I think, you know, anybody can go out there and you know, do their job well, especially when they're professional, but to find your place in the community, that's very important to Pittsburghers, you know, for a team member to not only, you know, identify with the team, but to identify with the city, and then that's what Norm did.
Yeah, it was a neat city. Loved the city. It's one of my favorite places to visit. I have just tremendously fond memories of my time spent in Pittsburgh. Really enjoyed the team and enjoyed the city.
Well,
you know, and I'm going to jump in here, Neil, because there's a great line from a Frasier episode going back maybe 5 to 10 years ago, where one of the writers of the show was from Pittsburgh, and he actually writes how Seattle is the Pittsburgh of the West.
Oh.
So that might be why Norm identifies with Seattle so well.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
All right, so basically from life after football, tell us a little bit about what's happened after that, Norm, and then I want to get a prediction of who you think's going to win the Super Bowl, and it'll be quite interesting for sure. But tell us, right after your career's over, what did you decide to do, and that decision process of becoming an entrepreneur right now?
Well, when I retired, I sat and took a look back around what I wanted to do, and I ended up landing in real estate, and was in actually, I still hold my license, but I don't do much in real estate anymore. You know, that kind of crashed and burned that industry, and it just became no fun. It's kind of like the no fun industry. The agents weren't having fun, and lenders weren't having fun, and title, it was just appraisers. I mean, nobody was having fun in that industry, and so I kind of left that and been looking for things to do, and and dabble in a few different things. But one of the things I am really excited about now is we launched a beer, and we launched a beer for the fans, and it's going quite well. This is our first year, and we picked a pretty good year to launch it.
Cool, really awesome, Jarrett. And I know, Jarrett, you have some questions about his beer, right?
I do. Well, the first question I have is absolutely, what's it called? What's its name?
It's the 12-Man Pale Ale, and I created a beer that is a very sessionable, which means very drinkable beer, and I wanted to put it in the. There's a real discrepancy of beer drinkers out there between, you've got the yellow beer drinkers on one side, and that's pretty much all they drink, and then you got the craft beer drinkers on this other side, and that's pretty much all they drink, and there's not a lot of middle ground. And this beer actually appeals to both sides of the fence, and we call it kind of a transition beer for those yellow beer drinkers. Everyone that we've tested this with, almost all of them say, wow, I could drink that. It doesn't have that, whatever they think a craft beer has, a bite or something. We lowered the hop profile, and it's a very, very tasty beer, one that you can drink many throughout the day watching sporting events.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing that football games last so long, and that way they can continue to refill.
Well, exactly. And then on a Sunday where there's two games, if you're drinking a bunch of craft beer on the early game, you're going to be asleep by the second game. So this is one you can drink all day long.
So, Norm, what has been your biggest struggle becoming an entrepreneur so far with the idea of this beer? What do you think has been the most difficult thing?
Probably the most difficult thing is just getting the word out. The process of we had to first acquire the trademark, and a lot of people jump on a bandwagon and they don't have rights, and they try to do some things, and most of them will get either slapped in the hand or get themselves in some real trouble. So we've been working on this project for almost 2 years, but we wanted to secure the trademark. And then the challenge was, we knew that we'd sell a lot of beer. We really felt that we'd sell a lot of beer. Then you had to find a brewery that actually has capacity. And this is a craft beer product. We talked to a lot of craft beer breweries, and most of them are at capacity. They're always looking to expand because they outgrow what they currently have, so they don't have room to take on another beer, especially one that's going to we felt sell a lot of beer, and that was probably, as much as getting the word out is probably the number one thing, is how do you get that word out to everybody that you need to. But the other thing was finding a brewery that had the capacity and had the relationships and were the people that you want to deal with. That was probably the hardest part of this whole process. And we had to talk to quite a few people.
Okay, and we're talking to Norm Johnson, former Pittsburgh Steelers, Seattle Seahawk, All-Pro 3-time, and he's talking about his entrepreneurial ventures. And Jarrett, it just sounds like in a lot of ways, Norm has chosen something that makes him more passionate than the years in real estate.
Well, it's interesting because, certainly our listeners know that I've begun to experiment in the real estate market. I think Pittsburgh's a little bit different with real estate, and it's definitely opening up some avenues. But Norm, the other question I have here is, I have so many questions, but I really want to ask you is, how did your background in football as a team player, maybe even the competitive edge? We always associate football with that competitive nature. We sometimes overlook the atmosphere of teamwork that's involved there. How did that help you really move into this new venture of creating a new product for an established market?
Wow, that's a question that hasn't been posed to me. That's very interesting that you bring that up. But a single person can't take on a project of this magnitude. And coming from that team background, I guess I'd say I'm able to work with our team. That we basically do have a team that's taken this to market and creating what we've created, and I work real well with that team. I understand, roles of the team. We have a group of team members, and I have a specific role, and certain people have other roles, and to not overshadow the other and let the people who are experts in their field do what they do, and that's in football, that's kind of what you got to have. And certainly the different players are experts at their positions, but a good head coach lets his assistant coaches coach. A good GM lets his head coach, and they all know their own roles, and they don't, some of the teams that have problems in the NFL are where too many, and this is usually in upper management, but they overshadow and step on each other's toes, and they're seems like they're not all, looking in the same direction. They're all kind of going different directions, and it just creates a lot of problems. And that kind of filters out on the field. Then you got individuals out there on the field and a team full of eye guys, and it's just crazy. And I'm going to say that's something I think that Pete Carroll has really, really done well with the Seahawks. Is when you look back at, I think this is his fourth year, he's been making more moves. Him and John Schneider made more moves than probably anybody in the NFL. I mean, it's like 200-300 moves, and they've been looking for the right profile player, the right caliber of player, right person, and creating a team that is out for themselves. I mean, out for the team, not out for themselves. And this team is really unified. Those players, all they talk about is having each other's back, and they're accountable to each other. And to see a team that is together like that, and are playing for their teammates and not playing for themselves, is just not only refreshing, but that's how you win championships.
Wow, that's so true in so many ways, Norm. And I don't know, I'm going to ask Jared his prediction after I ask yours, first of all, Norm. So give me specifically a prediction. Who's going to win, the Seahawks or Broncos on Sunday?
Well, I'm going to say it this way. The Seahawks have a great chance of winning, but their best chance of winning is to keep Peyton Manning off the field as much as possible. And we've played some teams with some very, very, very strong defenses, and Denver has a good defense, but I think we're going to be able to sustain some drives. And then now we throw Percy Harvin in the mix. He's going to be good for some first downs. I think our key to success is to be able to not have very few 3-and-outs, sustain some drives, chip away at that clock. If we're able to sustain some drives, we're going to score some points. And if we can keep the Broncos to have, only 8 or 9 possessions, they aren't going to score every time against our defense. But if we have a lot of 3-and-outs and we keep turning that ball over to the Broncos, we're going to be in trouble. And then obviously for both teams, neither team's going to want to turn that ball over. And the Broncos, we have the Legion of Boom and all those interceptions, but they don't throw downfield. They throw little 3-yard passes, 0-yard passes, and let their guys run. They're not throwing the ball downfield much. They just show all those little short crossing and pick routes and all of that. And so I don't know if as much as they put it in the air, I don't know that we're going to have a lot of opportunity for interceptions. So I just think our key is to...
Norm, you are picking the Seahawks, though.
I am going to pick the Seahawks.
Okay. What about you, Jerry? Or who are you picking?
Well, now, certainly my analysis will not be that in-depth. And, Neil, I know you shared about the Broncos being one of your favorite teams, and we can, Peyton Manning has overshadowed probably every story in the NFL this year. But Norm touched on he brought up Pete Carroll and the Seahawks connection, and there is a wonderful story, and it's not really out there. There's a wonderful story of a young man who played football for his high school team, and I know Norm is aware of this. He is profoundly blind. He cannot see from cancer, and he was a USC fan. He connected with Pete Carroll at USC, and Pete Carroll continues to keep that young man a part of the Seahawks family, and that is a story that I saw on ESPN probably about 2 months ago that just so touched my heart, because we talked about education, teamwork, role. That's been such an important part of our show, Neil, right from the beginning. And so Peyton Manning's story has overshadowed everything, and yet there's a beautiful story that is going on right with the Seahawks right now. So my prediction is, as much as I love Peyton Manning's season, I have to go with my heart, and that's the Seahawks.
Okay, so we have two Seahawks prediction. My prediction, the Broncos will win because Seattle probably give them another year. It kind of reminds me of the Broncos of the time where, they needed one more piece to the pie to finally do that, and then they created a running game with Elway. They remind me of the Broncos of that time, that they just are not going to have the firepower to win. I'm not going to give a prediction on a score, but Norm, where can we find information on you and learn more about your current entrepreneurial ventures and anything else? Where can we find that info?
Oh, that's a good question. I have a website for myself, but I don't keep that updated. There's not much information on there. But as far as the beer, and I'm constantly on that. Facebook's a great place. You can go to the 12-Man Pale Ale. You can like our page. You can comment and keep track of what's going on, where it's located, and kind of what's going on with that. And that's probably the most current stuff going on with me.
All right, well, it's fantastic having you on. We'll have to reach out to you to talk more about your career, especially with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Any former Steeler is welcome on my show. I'm not saying any former Seahawk, Norm, but any former Steeler is welcome on my show anytime, and I appreciate you talking the week of the Super Bowl. Enjoy the Super Bowl party. Do you have? And for our people in the Northwest, there's a Super Bowl party coming up, right? Is that that you're promoting, right?
Well, I'm going to be up at the Tulalip Casino up there in just north of Everett. That'll be a lot of fun, and I want to make a comment. There's been a lot of Steelers that have played for the Seahawks. Quite a few of them. A lot of them that I've even played with. But if you remember, Franco Harris ended his career here.
Yes.
I played for both. Willie Williams played for both. Chad Brown played for both. Levon Kirkland had a stint in Seattle. There's been some guys, and I don't know all the other ones, but there's a few other ones too.
Well, that was an interesting history lesson, Norm. So best of luck. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll definitely reach out in a couple months, have you back to talk more about your career with the Steelers and your storied NFL career. So thanks again for calling, Norm.
Thanks, guys.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Norm, and cheers.
All right.
Cheers.
And you're listening to the Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network, powered by the Simply G Media Network. And we'll be back in just a moment.